Hi, listeners. Welcome to Off the Cuff with Namrita, and hope you all are having a wonderful morning. And thank you for waking up so early in the morning and listening to my show. And if you're half awake, trust me, this show will, make you wake up even more because um, this program definitely will be very enlightening because my guest today is spiritually awakened human being, I can say. He has many facets to his personality. So this segment will be definitely in two parts. And it's my honor and pleasure to talk to Mayur Kalbag. Welcome, Mayur, to Off the Cuff.
Welcome to myself, and thank you very much for having me on this show, Namrita. And this is my first time I'm interacting with you in this context. So I'm really, with childlike excitement, looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, same here because you're such a, what can I say, very interesting life and interesting humans, I'll say. So looking forward to, and my special thanks to Shraddha Joglekarji, who, she connected me to you. So thank you, Shraddha, for this. Mayur Kalbag is an international trainer, transformational coach, facilitator, and the best-selling author of the book Aghori and Untold Story. Besides that, he is a poet and a painter. He has been a consulting editor and a weekly column writer for the FIJI Sun Newspaper since the past 6 years. His abstract artworks have been put for exhibitions in Switzerland and Nehru Art Center in Mumbai. His novel, Aghori, an untold story, topped the list of Amazon bestsellers. So, what can I say about him, and um, I'm delighted to bring his wisdom to our audience here in the Silicon Valley who live by facts and science. So I hope that they connect with something in this interview because what we are going to talk about is universal. So my first question to you is, Mayur, that, before we talk about your book, which I'm reading right here, almost about to finish. Yeah. And, tell me your journey towards the book. What made you go inside rather than, outward?
Great. Let me begin by saying that
Mhm.
certain things, certain things probably get awakened at certain times of life.
Mm.
Um, I'm making a very philosophical statement, probably, but what I want to say is that sometimes you come across something or someone and you may be having a conversation, and
Mm.
it sort of makes you want to wonder about life. Maybe something that you extract from a conversation makes you want to think
Mm.
about it. Happens many a times. For me, at the age of approximately 8 or 9 years old, when I was 8 or 9 years old,
Mm.
on a Saturday, we have the tradition of going to the temple, a Shani temple or a Hanuman temple.
Mm.
So along with my dad, we went to the temple, which is right across our road in Mahim. Of course, later they shifted it because of the road widening. They placed it somewhere else. But I remember while I was there was this particular very pleasantly freakish looking entity. When I say freakish, I don't mean that negative way. Very different, very unique. But
Mm.
for me, at that point, I was like, who is that? What is that?
Mm.
Because it was this entity who had long hair,
Oh,
what we call is jata,
yes.
okay, very thin and almost skinny, but tall, and he was just wearing um, what they call is a langot,
Yes.
the
Mm.
underwear, but it's a langot,
Mm.
and that's all he had, and he had long hair. And the most interesting part for me as a child
Mm.
was the fact that his body was covered in what looked like some powder, white powder. Of course,
Mm.
that was the bhasma that they put. This is
Mm.
when, this is a long time back, okay? And I don't know what he was doing, but he was sitting outside the temple,
Mm.
where they have some place for people to sit and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
and I went there, and more than getting in and praying, I was ogling and staring at this entity.
Mm.
And rather than getting scared, I was getting pulled towards him, not literally, but
Yeah.
more keen to know who
Intimate.
is that person. And I asked my dad on the way back, and he was quite pleasantly casual, saying that he's a sadhu. chalo abhi ghar jayenge. And but that stuck, and it was for me an awakening of curiosity
Mm.
towards finding out more. Of
Mm.
course, it was latent, okay, Namrita. It wasn't like suddenly at the age of 9 I started
Yeah.
exploring, but
Mm.
it got embedded in me, the curiosity to know what is this. Because it was, even today, when you see an Aghori or even a Naga Sadhu, you will be flummoxed in a very beautiful way if you're spiritually inclined, in terms of wondering what is this, who are these entities who are very much unlike us. So that happened, Namrita. And then later on, I was cut to straight away when I was 17 or 18. I used to read, certain books. Uh, like I read Jnana Yoga of Swami Yogananda, by Swami Vivekananda,
Vivekananda.
Raj Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. Then
Mm.
there was one book which was particularly very impactful for me at that particular time of life. This was when I was, say, 20,
Mm.
was the autobiography of a
Yeah.
yogi by Swami Yogananda.
Mm.
And if I can put it this way, that it was a compilation of a lot of these things I was absorbing. And I wouldn't say I was very old, but I wasn't very young as well, like 17, 18 to 20. And
Mm.
I think those were the samskars I absorbed in terms of understanding who is a yogi, who's a sadhu, who's a Naga sadhu.
Mm.
And then I got initiated into mantra japa by my guru,
Yes.
Swami Satyojat Shankarashram.
Mm.
He's my guru.
Mm.
Then I went to Kailash in 2001 and Manasarovar. So I'm trying to tell you that it was not just one off thing.
Mm. Mm.
It were a series of things which, made me get to want to know more about the Aghori Sadhus.
Mm.
The first thing I got to understand is Aghori itself is a Sanskrit word,
Mm.
which means Aghor. Ghor is darkness,
Okay.
and Aghor is Aghor, is he or she who is not afraid of darkness.
Oh,
And darkness here would be a metaphor for something which could be beyond
mm.
what we understand as normal.
Mm.
Um, so there could be tantra sadhana, which could be sort of a little different. So
Mm.
these people, these entities are fearless to practice all that. This
Mm.
is what happened as I started exploring more. So to conclude from my side, I'm sure you'll have more related questions. I
Yes.
would say the visit to the temple when I
Mm.
was 9 or 10, and that visual of the Aghori Sadhu, which I realized he was the Aghori Sadhu, and seeing that entity from just a few feet away is big deal today. Even now, if you see an Aghori Sadhu, you will be a little sort of
Yeah.
pleasantly jittery.
Mm.
So that's what happened, and one thing led to the other, and I started writing a book called Adventures of Poorna based on my trip to Kailash. And the second one was, this is my second book, Aghori and Untold Story. So the
Okay.
Aghori, the thing happened when I was very young, and at different points of time in my life,
Mm.
I had these interventions
Mm.
of knowledge about such kind of entities.
Very interesting, very interesting. And you also have a guru who you follow very diligently. And you're a married man with
Yes.
a daughter. So, just for my viewers and listeners, okay. So he is spiritually inclined, but he's also living a life like a regular, person like all of us. But
My daughter, my daughter, my daughter is 13. Her name is Malvika, and my son is Aryan. He's 16. So I have
yeah,
two growing children.
absolutely. Oh, yeah, it's always wonderful to be a parent, I'll say. But you talked about Aghori, and my what I've heard about Aghori is a little negative, and they're fearsome,
Sure.
and people get scared, even but there's something intense about them, and they're very detached from the regular way of living. So tell us about the book now, and like you said, it's a amalgamation of fact and fiction. So uh, tell us a little bit more about the Aghori life, and um, what
Sure.
people can read in the book. Yeah.
I think I'll start my response to your question by
Mm.
addressing the issue that you started off with in terms of they being sort of misunderstood, or a
Yes.
misperception about them being very aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
very sort of scary, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
let me just I would like all our viewers to just see the face of this Aghori.
Mm.
Can it be seen?
Yes. 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 Yeah.
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 And what I would like to say is, even to you, Namrita, when you see the face,
Uh,
don't you see what kind of, you look at the expression, right?
uh,
This expression, it's itself is a metaphor that the Aghori Sadhus are not. They're not actually the ones who are like angry all the time, and they're always, shouting at people and scolding people and walking like madmen. Not at all. Not at all. I'd like to first start off by saying that Aghori Sadhus are part of a parampara, the Aghor parampara. Okay, just
Okay.
like there is Nath parampara, for example, then
Ah.
there is, the Shankaracharya parampara, for
Mm,
example.
mm,
This is the Aghor parampara. And in this parampara, there are certain disciplines as well.
mm,
What happens is when people see them, okay,
mm,
because the way they meditate and practice certain tantras and kriyas is so different, that is what scares people, because like you rightly said, they do not want to associate themselves with people around, because
mm,
they're completely focused on sadhana, and their sadhana, for whatever reasons that
mm,
they know best,
mm.
is practiced more or less in smashan bhumis, at cremation grounds
Asian grounds.
as well. Yeah, on the banks of the Ganges, where
Mm,
there is cremation happening, because there is this aspect where they connect with spirits, and
mm.
there are certain tantra kriyas or kriyas where, for a particular thing, they have to
Yes.
sit on the dead body and perform certain kriyas. Now,
Mm,
if somebody like me, I mean, I know them now or about them, but if somebody just sees that, the first thing will be, oh my God, what are they? Because normal people will be obviously impacted in a way which will make them nervous and scared, and they'll therefore unintentionally, maybe, or intentionally, they'll create perceptions, right?
mm.
um,
Very true. Mm,
so that's one. The second thing is, Aghori sadhus also have a guru. Many people don't know that Aghori sadhus actually have a guru, not teachers. Guru Shishya relationship is
mm,
very predominant and very much there, even in the Aghor parampara. Now, why I say this is because
mm.
people think that Aghoris are wanderers. They just,
Ah,
they're there walking, in the middle of the night. No, there is a structure
mm,
to what they do. So
mm,
because they have a guru, the guru tells them certain things. He gives instructions to
mm,
them to follow certain things. Like,
mm,
I have a guru, and
mm.
I practice, for example, mantra japa, and that is what I practice.
Yes.
Naga sadhus will have their gurus. They have their akhadas. So they
Mm,
have their gurus.
mm,
Similarly, Aghoris also have their gurus, and
mm,
they practice certain things which require them, like I said earlier,
mm,
to spend time and do certain solid kriyas at cremation grounds. Even in the forests, they do that.
mm,
For example, another thing which creates this perception that, oh my God, they're scary, is because
mm,
as part of the parampara, they
mm,
have to eat and drink water from the skull of a human being, a dead human being. Now, there
mm.
is no other, in my knowledge, parampara which has this aspect. The skull that they carry is a one for all utility thing. In fact, not just utility. Excuse me. They also use it. In fact, they predominantly use it to practice their kriyas. And there is a science, or there is a connection between the skull and what they do in a particular way that they do, where they
Mm,
connect with the energies around and all.
mm,
So when people, Namrita, are going to see that even on a YouTube video, that
yeah.
because it is like a shocker for them, because people associate the spiritualism of India with something that is more pleasant, isn't it? So you'll find
Yes.
yogis meditating in the caves
Yes.
in a very enlightened look. Their skin glows.
Mm,
If you look at an Aghori sadhu on a video in YouTube, you won't see all that. In
mm.
fact, they are not even bothered to show you
Yes.
anything,
Ah,
because they've internalized everything. So
mm,
when they sit, and if somebody comes close by and with their own good intention wants to click a picture, or they want to strike a conversation,
yeah.
that's when these people get unnerved.
Mm,
One more thing. Aghoris are not here to impress us with their communication, intonations, and verbal modulations. Okay. So
mm,
they are not going to say, well, at this point of time, I will be unable to spend time with you and answer your questions. They are not interested in all that. But a
yeah.
yogi who's meditating, just a normal, meditation in Himalayas, there will be a way in which they will speak. But these people,
Yeah.
they
Mm,
don't care. Their body language, their communication is just from the heart.
mm.
Nikal ja idhar se. Just go from here. That's how they'll say. They're not going to waste their time in modulating the voice.
Yeah.
They just don't want to be disturbed. And that's what this book is all about. It's
Yes.
about, honestly, and you read a little bit. So,
Yes. Yes.
it's about giving, it's about people understanding who the real Aghoris are. They meditate, they're good people. And if you are genuinely, in a very, with the attitude of surrender, you want to know.
Hmm.
And if you are willing to, give your time and not really demand their time,
Hmm.
you'll get a lot of answers like I did, which is what made me write this book. I hope I've answered your
Absolutely.
question.
No, definitely. And you yourself, interacted with them, and that's where
Yeah.
the book comes from. And rest, you said you've left on the view, readers to.
Okay, so
Uh,
the fact and fiction part, let me address. Um, this is one thing that I don't wish to reveal, because there's a lot of stuff that I believe happened to me or happens to me that's connected with my previous births. Okay. Now, if I were to put this up, I'm already half crazy. People will think I'm full crazy. People are spiritually inclined, they will understand, because there is a science. Haven't you heard
yes,
of past life regression?
absolutely. Yes.
So there is, and therefore I'm very vociferous from my side to
Hmm.
say that when I wrote this book, in this life, a few things are fiction,
Uh,
but just in this life, right?
yeah.
A lot of it has been awakened from certain lives I've led, which is why I never planned and manufactured this and plotted it on a piece of paper and then put it on the book. I just would feel like after a gap of 2-3 months, and I would just sit, and it would just start flowing in, those thoughts, the skriyas. And and once I would start typing, it would be like a tap which doesn't close, if you know what I'm saying. It just goes on
Yes.
and on for some time.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
would, and this was during the initial part of the pandemic and stuff, so there was a lot of time I got where I didn't have to go out, so that actually helped me to focus more. So it is fact, and maybe some part of it in this life is fiction.
Okay, I'll take that. And I've been reading this book, and it's intriguing to say the least. And I think it
Thank
makes
you.
you think about your own life and, what
Sure.
you are doing, because their life is just completely selfless, I'll say.
In fact, if I can just add a little value to your point,
Yeah.
in a very concise way, Namrita,
Mm,
you you said a very beautiful thing, that it also helps us to introspect about our lives. And
absolutely.
and like one of the readers said that while I was reading the book, I became Subbu or Subraya. I became that entity, and I
Mm,
felt I was with them. And then I had my own individual thoughts about who am I, what am I doing in this life. And
mm,
one of the biggest takeaways that's come out as a feedback is people have become more keen, A, to know more about Aghoris, B, they
yes.
have understood, they're seeing Aghoris in a very positive light. And most intriguing is a
Mm.
lot of people have become more spiritual. Yeah.
I think, yeah, world is turning towards
Yeah.
spirituality, to say the least, because especially in the Western countries, I can see a lot is changing
Yeah.
because the way
Absolutely.
things are going.
You'll be,
And
yeah, sorry, please
no,
continue.
no, 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 go ahead. Yeah.
I'm just again interjecting with hopefully a positive intent. Uh, is I did a session with a company. I'm a motivational trainer, right, by
Yes.
profession. So
Yeah.
I do trainings, which is cool. I'm just giving you a reference of context. So
Mm.
while I was doing a training with this company called Siemens, one of the
Yes.
largest
Yeah.
conglomerates, right, Siemens, I remember this happened just before the pandemic. There was
Mm.
this person from Germany who had come in, and he
Mm.
handles the German, uh, one of the functions in Germany, okay, of
Mm.
Siemens. He had come because it was his team in Gurgaon.
Mm.
And you'll be surprised to know that when we got introduced
Mm.
and we were planning, his name is Robert Merkel, if I'm not mistaken, and he was very keen
Mm.
to interact with me. Even when we were speaking about it before the session, when we were planning, he was like, Mayur, I want to definitely learn breathing techniques and yoga from you, because my
Mm.
role was to talk about stress management and attitude.
Mm.
And
Mm.
while we were there at the hotel, after the sessions,
Mm.
he would sit with me in one of the rooms in the hotel,
Mm.
and he was
Mm.
keen to know the techniques of Om vibrations, which I practice. So
Yes.
it just goes to show how you, whether it's India, Europe, people are, I think, getting more and more into the aspects of yoga and spirituality.
एब्सोल्युटली भाई, सबको शांति चाहिए, पीस चाहिए कहीं ना कहीं से, जब इतनी there's so much of fear around you, so much of cacophony, I'll say, around.
Shosha is a creative Indian restaurant located in the heart of Silicon Valley. Shosha is a woman-owned business that serves traditional Indian flavors assimilated with molecular gastronomy techniques. The best Indian bar with happy hours in the Bay Area serves handcrafted drinks inspired by flavors from India with modern craft cocktails that are presented in unique ways. Shosha is a modern take on traditional Indian cuisine. We specialize in corporate luncheon, anniversary celebrations, birthday parties, and catering. Do check us out for a memorable modern Indian dining experience. Shosha is located at 141 South Murphy Avenue in Sunnyvale, California.